Hey guys, welcome back to Cooking with William, where today we are going to make some delicious slow roasted short ribs. Let's get started. Alright, so slow roasted short ribs, of course, have to start with your short rib. I got some nice Wagyu short ribs from my local meat market, but really that's not very necessary. They have plenty of marbling as is. Sometimes short ribs will come all connected, like this. It'll just be a slab of meat with multiple ribs. It's really useful to go ahead and separate each rib so you have smaller portions. Once you do this, you can really see the amazing marbling that comes in these cuts of meat. Now, fat is flavor, and most of the fat on the short rib is delicious, but as you can see, some of them have a really big fat cap on the outside. It's not this marbled fat on the inside, it's this big thick layer on the outside, and you're going to want to cut most of that off. Slow braised fat by itself gets very blubbery, it's not very delicious. Once everything is trimmed to your liking, go ahead and season it. I like to just do basic kosher salt and black pepper. It will get plenty of flavor from the sauce. This is more to just help it build an amazing crust. Also, make sure you pat that seasoning down into the meat. Season every single side, make sure it's well seasoned, and for the edges, just tap it on the cutting board. You don't have to use any extra seasoning for that. Go ahead and set that aside while we heat some olive oil in a large Dutch oven or any other large pot. First, we are going to sear our short ribs. It's important to get a really good sear on all four sides of the short rib because without it, it gets a really off color. It starts to sort of look more like boiled meat than anything else, and that's not the best color to have for this dish. It also adds some great flavor to the short ribs, which will be incorporated throughout the sauce as it braises. As you're doing this, some delicious fond will start to form on the bottom of the pan. Make sure you cook at a low enough heat that this does not burn, because if it burns, it'll make everything else taste bad. Once all the short ribs are seared, we can add in about 2 sliced onions, and this will really help you deglaze the pan. Onions have a lot of water in them, and so as it cooks, they're going to release that water, and it'll let you use a wooden spoon to sort of scrape off all that fond on the bottom. All that fond is flavor. Remember, you could also add a splash of water if you need to, if the onions aren't coming out fast enough and you think things are about to start burning. Once all that fond is scraped off, go ahead and add about 2 carrots and a whole stick of celery. This just adds a little bit of extra flavor to the final stock. Now go ahead and add a few crushed garlic cloves. You don't have to worry about chopping it, crushing it will be just fine. Once that starts to get nice and aromatic, add a big spoonful of tomato paste. Be careful because this stuff burns easily. Just get it a little bit fried in that nice oil, but do not let it burn. Once you think it might be about to burn, we can deglaze the pan with some sort of liquid. I am using almost a full bottle of red wine. When red wine gets condensed, it gets really meaty, really umami, and so it is a great base for soups and stews like this. Go ahead and give that a stir and then bring it up to a boil and just start to let it reduce. We're going to reduce this to about 25% of what it originally was. While that's happening, we can season it. I like a little garlic powder, onion powder, and smoked paprika. I also like to add in a few punches of umami with some Worcestershire sauce and a little bit of soy sauce. It won't make it taste Asian, it'll just make it taste better. Finally, I like some herbs. Some dried rosemary goes a long way, and a few sprigs of thyme, and then we're just going to start pouring in a little bit of extra water. You could also use chicken stock, but instead I'm going to add all the water I need to get it about 4 to 5 inches off the bottom of the pan, and then I'm just going to add a few chicken bouillon cubes. It's a little bit cheaper and a lot easier than using actual chicken stock. However you do it, you want to bring that to a boil and then add in all of your short ribs. It doesn't matter if they're completely covered, they will braise from the bottom and steam from the top, and if you really want to, you can come and move them around later. After about 2.5 to 3 hours, you should be able to take them out and they will be extremely tender. They are almost like beef jello at this point. You should be able to easily shred it with a fork, but you don't want to do that because presentation is nicer if you keep it in one whole thing. So go ahead and try to pull it out with tongs, but be very careful because it is basically falling off the bone. I actually had a lot of trouble getting it out with one set of tongs, so I had to grab a second set to fully support it and keep it all in one piece. Go ahead and get all of the short ribs out, being careful to get all of the bones and any meat stuck on the bottom. That's all really delicious flavor and you don't want to leave any of it behind. This leaves us with a nice delicious stock that will soon become our gravy, but to do that we first need to strain it. Using a strainer over a large bowl, just slowly pass through your stock, taking out all of the big pieces. You might need to use a wooden spoon to kind of push it through, but eventually you'll end up with a big bowl full of stock. But there will also be a large layer of fat. Short ribs are very fatty and we want to get rid of that. The easiest way to do this is to just get a spoon or ladle and spoon out the fat, but this takes a while and you end up leaving a lot behind, so I like to add in a few cups of ice, just enough to get the fat to solid temperature. Once the fat is solid, you could just scoop the ice out and all of the fat will have stuck to the ice, giving you a much easier way to get all of the fat out. It also means that we can strain it again when pouring it back into our pot, and any fat that we didn't scoop out will get caught by the strainer because it is a solid instead of a liquid. Which brings us to making our gravy. We just take our stock, pass it through a strainer like we did before, and then we just bring that to a simmer and let it get down to the consistency of maple syrup. Go ahead and put your short ribs back into this. They could be completely refrigerated at this point. They will re-warm in the gravy. Once all your short ribs are sitting nice and pretty in the gravy, go ahead and cover it and just let it warm up until you're ready to serve. It could sit here for a few more hours. Once you are ready to serve, go ahead and plate it up. I like to serve it with a side of roasted potatoes as well as a nice Caesar salad. Maybe a homemade salad would be great. And there you have a slow braised short rib. I really hope you guys like this video. This is one of the most delicious foods that I know how to make. It is so extremely tender and juicy, and it just falls apart in your mouth. Like I said earlier, it's almost like beef jello. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments what I should cook next time. I'm looking for some more recipes to make, so let me know what you all like. And also, thank you guys so much for hitting 10,000 views on the Rowdy Tuba video. Awesome. Thank you.